So I am going to take a moment to introduce Tim Seibles. I'm going to read exactly what I wrote because I thought about it hard. Our evening continues with a Heart superstar from way back. Tim Seibles was a contributor to Heart at our inception in the 1990s and has never failed to rally for our cause, giving us epic poems of desire for a better, more just, less fucked up world. He often describes himself as a madman, and if this is true, I want to live in his madness. It gives me great hope that his latest book, Fast Animal, was a finalist for the 2013 National Book Award. It makes me think that maybe we're edging toward an appreciation of poetry as a voice for the questioning the hungry, the angry, and humanity as a whole. I once spent a night with Tim at the Dodge Poetry Festival. I don't need to read this part. And we went to see Lucille Clifton together. I don't know if any of you have seen Lucille Clifton, but it was in a little white church, and we were like this far from her, and I sobbed during the whole thing. And he just reached over and grabbed my hand, and that's pretty much what he's gonna do for you tonight. I bring you Tim Seibles.
You know, it's such an honor to follow you. All right. And whoever that was up in the booth doing that singing, oh, I know who it was. Anyway, such a pleasure to be here. And I don't know how restless you're feeling, but I was going to start. Maybe I'll just read part of the essay. You could just read part of it. Anyway, all right, I'll just read you part of this open letter that I wrote in this book, Buffalo Head Solos, because what I was trying to do, I was working on these poems during the Bush administration, W, not his father, but W's. And what I was trying to figure out was, I was trying to find a way to talk about what poems might do. I mean, my own poems and all poems, and of course, secondarily, art in general, and then finally humanity, right? So I wrote this thing called an open letter, and I really had never thought of reading it to people, but Les said, you should do it. It's kind of about the Heart mission. So I'll read you some segment of it. It's not very long. It depends on how we feel. Maybe I'll finish it, or I'll just read some poems or something. Anyway, I want to talk about some of the things I'm after when I write, my sense of the American predicament, and what I hope for poetry and for people in relation to words. I know I'm also talking to myself here, and I can't speak to the success or failure of what transpires in the poems that follow. I simply hope that this short rant can provide a clarifying context, a brief look at what confounds and compels my efforts. I realize, of course, that this could be boneheadedly presumptuous. But there are things far worse than speaking out of turn. In fact, part of what energizes me is all the naysaying I hear about what poets and poetry can do. Poetry will never reach the general public. Poetry shouldn't be political or argumentative. Poetry will not succeed if it's excessively imaginative, whatever that means. Poetry can't change anything. Because the first people I heard saying such things were poets, I used to believe these notions were born of thoughtful consideration and humility. But now I see them as a kind of preemptive apology, a small-hearted justification for the writing of a hobbled poetry. A poetry that doesn't want to be too conspicuous. A poetry that knows its place, that doesn't mean to trouble the water, that is always decorous and never stomps in with bad breath and plaid boots. But why not? Why not a sublimely reckless poetry when the ascendant social order permits nearly every type of corruption and related hypocrisy? Why not risk more and more? So much is at stake. This culture, deranged by both spoken and unspoken imperatives, mocks the complexity of our loneliness, our spiritual hunger for dynamic meanings, our thirst for genuine human community, for good magic and good sense. And given the growing heap of human wreckage, why not approach language and its transforming potential with a ravishing hunger, with a ferocity bordering on the psychotic? What the hell happened to the notion of poet as town crier, rabble-rouser, court jester, priestess, visionary, madman? Given the way things have gone, it's almost impossible not to be overtaken by despair. Writing poems in SUV America can feel like fiddling amidst catastrophe. But if one must fiddle, shouldn't one play that thing till it smokes? And in stirring the words with our tongues, our paws, our long nights, and the smoldering tangle of our brains, maybe we could move our general kin to listen